The rain pounded against the windows like an angry drummer, each drop a reminder of how stranded I was. Her eyes, those deep amber eyes I'd secretly admired for months, held mine as she said the words that would change everything. "Just stay the night, Alex." If I had taken the sofa like any reasonable friend would have, our story might have ended differently. But sometimes, the most important moments in life come from the choices we least expect to make. Before I continue this journey that transformed both our lives forever, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that explore those pivotal moments where courage meets opportunity. Your support means everything, and I promise, the ending of this story will be worth every second. It started 3 years ago when Jamie moved into the apartment across from mine. We became friends the way people do in big cities, gradually, cautiously, and then all at once. She was brilliant, working as an architectural designer while I struggled through my final year of medical residency. Our friendship was built on late-night conversations in the hallway, borrowed cups of sugar, and the occasional shared takeout when our schedules miraculously aligned. I never planned to fall in love with her. In fact, I'd convinced myself that friendship was safer, that risking what we had for something more would be foolish. Jamie had just ended a 5-year relationship when we met, and the last thing she needed was another complication. "You're the only person who doesn't expect anything from me," she told me once, legs dangling from my kitchen counter as I cooked us pasta. Do you know how rare that is? Those words became my prison. I interpreted them as a boundary I shouldn't cross, a line drawn in invisible ink between us. The night everything changed was ordinary until it wasn't. I'd been on call for 36 hours straight, dealing with a multiple-car accident that had brought 8 critical patients to our emergency department. By the time I dragged myself home, the sky had opened up in one of those summer storms that turn streets into rivers and makes the world feel apocalyptic. I was fumbling with my keys, soaked to the bone and barely conscious, when Jamie's door opened. "Alex? Oh my God, you look terrible." Her voice carried that unique blend of concern and amusement that was so distinctly Jamie. "Thanks," I mumbled, dropping my keys for the 3rd time. "It's been a day." She didn't hesitate. "Come in. I just made tea." Her apartment was everything mine wasn't: organized, thoughtfully decorated, warm. Mine was a glorified storage unit where I occasionally slept. Jamie's place felt like a home, with plants thriving on every windowsill and art covering the walls. The smell of lavender and something baking filled the air. "Sit," she commanded, pointing to her couch. "I'll get you a towel." I obeyed, too exhausted to argue. When she returned, she handed me not just a towel but a change of clothes, her ex-boyfriend's sweatpants and t-shirt that she'd never returned. "These should fit. Go change before you catch pneumonia, doctor." Her smile was teasing, but her eyes held genuine worry. When I returned to the living room, she had tea waiting and was pulling something from the oven. "You're baking? At midnight?" She shrugged. "Couldn't sleep. Stress baking helps." "Work?" I asked, accepting the mug she offered. "Life," she replied cryptically. "The firm lost the Westridge project today. 2 years of work down the drain because the client decided to go with a more established company. Jamie, I'm so sorry. I knew how much that project meant to her, a sustainable community center that would have showcased her innovative designs." "It's fine." "Well, it's not fine, but it will be." She sat beside me, close enough that I could smell her shampoo, something citrusy and clean. "Anyway, you definitely had a worse day than I did. Want to talk about it?" I did. And that was unusual for me. Typically, I compartmentalized my hospital experiences, keeping them separate from my personal life. But with Jamie, the walls I built always seemed to crumble. I told her about the teenage girl who'd been in the passenger seat when her boyfriend lost control of the car. How we'd worked for hours to save her, and how, just when we thought we'd succeeded, her heart had stopped. How I'd had to tell her parents that their only daughter was gone. Jamie didn't offer platitudes. She didn't say it wasn't my fault or that I'd done everything I could. She simply listened, her hand finding mine in the space between us on the couch. Sometimes I think I chose the wrong profession, I admitted. Maybe I should have been something simpler. A baker. A gardener. You'd be terrible at both, she said, making me laugh despite everything. Your basil plant died after 2 days, remember? And the last time you tried to make cookies, you set off the building's fire alarm. Fair point. Outside, the storm intensified. Rain lashed against the windows, and thunder rumbled so loudly it seemed to shake the building. The forecast says it's going to be like this all night, Jamie said, checking her phone. And you look like you might pass out any second. She hesitated, then added, just stay the night, Alex. My heart did something complicated in my chest. I can make it across the hall. Don't be ridiculous. My sofa is comfortable, and this way I won't worry about you drowning in a puddle between our doors. The sensible answer was yes. I was exhausted, the weather was terrible, and her couch did look inviting. But something in me rebelled against the idea, against being so close to her all night, separated only by a wall, knowing she was sleeping just feet away. I'll take the floor, I heard myself say. Jamie blinked. What? I don't want the sofa. I'll take the floor. That's absurd. You're not sleeping on my floor after the day you've had. Then I'll go home. She stared at me, confusion evident in her expression. Alex, what's going on? It's just a sofa. And maybe it was the exhaustion, or the emotional weight of losing a patient, or simply that the dam I'd built to contain my feelings had finally cracked beyond repair, but I couldn't maintain the pretense anymore. It's not about the sofa, I said quietly. It's about me being here, in your space, pretending that I don't. I stopped, the words catching in my throat. That you don't what? Her voice had dropped to match mine, creating an intimate bubble around us despite the storm raging outside. That I don't want more than this. I gestured vaguely between us. More than friendship. I have for a long time, and I've been fighting it because you said I was the only person who doesn't expect anything from you, and I didn't want to ruin that. But the truth is, Jamie, I do expect something. I expect honesty between us, and honestly, I'm in love with you. The silence that followed felt eternal. I couldn't look at her, focusing instead on my hands, on the worn fabric of the borrowed sweatpants, on anything but her face and whatever rejection I might find there. Alex, she finally said, my name sounding different somehow in her mouth. Look at me. I forced myself to meet her gaze, prepared for gentle letdown, for the kind words that would precede the end of our friendship as I knew it. Instead, I saw tears in her eyes and something else, something that looked remarkably like hope. When I said you were the only person who doesn't expect anything from me, she began slowly, I meant it as a compliment. But lately, I've been wondering if maybe I want you to expect something. To want something. My breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying that I've been stress baking at midnight because I can't stop thinking about you. I'm saying that when the Westridge project fell through today, the first person, the only person, I wanted to talk to was you. I'm saying that I've been terrified of ruining what we have by admitting that somewhere along the way, I fell in love with my best friend. The world seemed to stop. The rain, the thunder, the exhaustion, all of it faded into background noise as I processed her words. You love me? I asked, needing to hear it again, to be certain I hadn't imagined it. Jamie laughed, a sound tinged with both nervousness and relief. Yes, you oblivious doctor. I love you. I have for months. Why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you? She countered. I was scared, I admitted. You're the most important person in my life. The thought of losing you. I know. She moved closer, her knee touching mine. I felt the same way. But then today happened, and I realized that life is too short and too unpredictable to not be honest about how I feel. I reached for her hand, marveling at how natural it felt to intertwine our fingers. "So what happens now?" "Now," she said, a smile spreading across her face, "you definitely don't sleep on the floor." That night changed everything. Not because anything physical happened, we were both too emotionally overwhelmed and I was too exhausted for that. But because for the first time, I fell asleep holding the woman I loved, knowing she loved me back. The challenges came later, of course. My brutal hospital schedule. Her dedication to her career. The inevitable adjustments as we navigated the transition from friends to partners. There was the time I missed her birthday dinner because of an emergency surgery, and the week she barely spoke to me because stress made her withdraw. There was her father's initial disapproval and my mother's too enthusiastic wedding planning before we'd even discussed marriage. But through it all, we had a foundation built on years of friendship, on knowing each other's flaws and loving each other anyway. We had that rainy night when honesty broke through fear, when refusing a sofa somehow led to finding a home in each other. 3 years later, as I stand in our shared apartment, a perfect blend of her design sense and my practical touches, I'm still amazed by how differently things might have gone. If I had taken the sofa that night, would I have found the courage to tell her how I felt the next morning? Or would we have continued our dance of near misses and unspoken feelings? Sometimes the smallest decisions, like refusing a sofa, can alter the entire course of your life. Sometimes courage comes not in grand gestures but in quiet moments of truth. And sometimes, the love you've been looking for has been right across the hall all along, just waiting for you to be brave enough to claim it. Jamie walks in now, her arms full of groceries, her smile still capable of making my heart skip after all this time. "What are you thinking about?" she asks, noticing my contemplative mood. "The night of the storm," I tell her. "When everything changed." She sets the bags down and comes to me, wrapping her arms around my waist. "Best night of my life," she whispers against my chest. "Even though I refused your sofa?" "Especially because you refused my sofa." She looks up at me, those amber eyes still holding the same warmth they did that night. Some people fall in love over candlelit dinners or grand gestures. We fell in love over honesty and a rainstorm. I wouldn't have it any other way, I tell her, and I mean it. So if you're watching this and wondering whether to take that chance, to speak that truth, to refuse that metaphorical sofa in your own life, let our story be your sign. The most beautiful beginnings often come from the most unexpected moments of courage. All you have to do is be brave enough to create them. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that remind us of the power of honesty, courage, and love. Sometimes, the greatest adventures begin with the simplest words, "I refuse the sofa."